These are the top 3 ways to survive Smile Dog. Number 1, never look at his real picture. Number 2, never say Smile Dog 3 times after midnight. And number 3, never share his video with 3 friends. He won't haunt you anymore, but he will haunt them for the rest of their lives. Good luck.
A group of teens dared a friend to be lowered into a well. When there was no movement at the end of the rope after many minutes, the friends pulled him back up. Shaking with now stark white hair, the boy couldn't form coherent sentences. His laughter showed he had gone insane.
Slenderman, while originating on the internet and even turning into an attempted homicide case in 2014, many more sightings are popping up about a demonic entity appearing, matching the exact descriptions of Slenderman, real or fake.
I'm so glad you asked. Now, this is a disclaimer that according to the urban legend, if you remember what I'm about to say by your 20th birthday, you will be cursed to also die. So watch this with precaution and scroll away if that makes you uncomfortable. If you're still here, this is the Japanese urban legend of Purple Mirror. In Japan, there was a girl who was gifted a hand mirror by her parents and she adored it. So much so that she carried it everywhere she went and painted it her favorite color, purple. Unfortunately, however, on her 20th birthday, she was struck by a car and killed. Her very last words were "purple mirror, purple mirror, purple mirror." Now, according to legend, that phrase is cursed. According to the legend, if you remember the phrase purple mirror by the time you're 20, you too will die in a horrific way on your 20th birthday, or slightly before. But of course, this is an urban legend, it's not true. Right?
This is the disturbing urban legend of Goatman. So this is a 7-foot-tall creature. The legend says he likes killing young couples in parked cars, and others say that he's looking for hikers and unsuspected teenagers to eat them. Also, he breaks into houses, he kills his victims, and he does disturbing things to their bodies. They say that a scientist did experiments on a goat and something went horribly wrong. So he turned into a half-man, half-goat beast hungry for blood, and for a weapon he uses an axe.
This is why music really can kill you. Merry Melody is an urban legend about a young man and woman who heard strange far-off music during a camping trip in the desert. They were curious, so they went closer and met this, a creature 9 feet tall holding some type of ancient instrument and staring down at them. They tried to run, but the creature began playing an evil song and their heads exploded. The coroners later said that their eardrums exploded so violently that it was like a shotgun blast going off. Some people that live nearby say they hear a strange tune far away every full moon, but they never go closer.
The Bean Nye is a messenger from the other world. Taking the form of an old woman, she can be found at the sides of streams, washing old clothing. If you get close enough, you'll notice she's washing blood out of the fabric. With one nostril, one eye, and webbed hands, the Bean Nye was once an ordinary woman, guided to the other world when she died in childbirth. Now she returns to our world as an omen of death. If witnessed, you, or someone you know, will die. After all, it's their blood she's washing from the clothes.
Today we're talking about Cartoon Cat. Cartoon Cat was first introduced on August 4th, 2018, when a photo was posted of him online. In his first photo, he's seen sitting behind an abandoned building, with a body shape that didn't resemble a cat, though it isn't revealed until later, in full body images, that he doesn't have the body of a cat, but he has shape-shifting abilities. What started off as a seemingly innocent but creepy cartoon was later shown looking more vicious and evil, as if he was about to kill. Not much is known about Cartoon Cat, but his latest photo gives insight into his biography. It's mostly covered by the word redacted. A few people have been able to make out other words in the photo, such like how he's from 1939 and how he's known to be cruel and he roams around abandoned buildings.
This is why you need to watch out for a man with orange eyes. Orange eyes is actually a cryptid that you can find in Ohio. It's reported to be over 11 feet tall and 1,000 pounds. It is said that Orange Eyes lives under a Cleveland cemetery, and the first time he was ever seen was on March 28th of 1959. On that day, he attacked 2 teenagers that were hanging out at Lover's Lane. They claimed he was large and hairy and had these bright orange eyes. He also had this matted black hair and a strange odor. He was last spotted in 1991 when he appeared to 2 fishermen in Mill Creek. And afterwards, he apparently ran into a nearby woods and he was never seen again. Some people believe he's actually an alien, but to this day, he still remains a mystery.
Japanese mythical beings you never knew existed. It's late at night and you're in a public bathroom. You're finished doing your business when you realize there's no toilet paper. Lucky for you, a figure comes up to your stall and asks if you want red paper or blue paper. What a weird question, but he's your only hope at having a clean bottom. You say red paper. He busts in and slices you up until you're drenched in your own blood. Rewind. You say blue paper, and he busts in and strangles you until you're blue in the face. This figure is called akamanto, or red cloak in English. And asking for different colored paper besides the red or blue that he offers will result in him dragging you to hell. Asking for yellow paper in particular will have him drowning you in the toilet. The only way to beat him is to simply ignore him. He'll walk away eventually. You'll still have no toilet paper, but at least you're alive. Here's Akamanto and Hanako-san. Like for more content about Japanese mythical beings, bye!
Alright, let's talk about El Sibon, also known as the Whistler. There are many versions of this story. The one I'm going to talk about is the one where the son comes home to find his father abusing his wife. This angered El Sibon a lot. He ended up killing his father because of this. After finding out about the father's death, his grandfather decided he was going to make him pay. He tied him to a pole and started whipping him and putting salt on his wounds. Then his grandfather let 2 dogs drag him into the jungle where he was never seen again. After this incident, it's said that his soul became extremely evil and was relentless on hurting everyone. You'll see a skinny man walking towards you with a farmer's hat on. You'll notice his bag is clanking. And then you'll see the human remains and bones inside of it. He takes the remains of everyone that he kills and puts them in this sack. And if you hear him whistling, you're next. What do you guys think about El Sibon?
This is why the Rake might actually be real. The Rake was first spotted in the United States in 2003 and has been seen multiple times since then, with some surviving the encounter, but many not surviving. People that see the human-like creature either go completely insane or disappear completely and are never heard from again. There was recently an alleged sighting in New York with a young woman stating that it showed up outside her window every night, smiling at her and beckoning her to open the window. She said she had an overwhelming urge to open it and go to the creature, even though it terrified her more than anything she had ever seen. Do you think she's telling the truth, or do you believe the Rake is just an urban legend?
Creepy Urban Legends from Every State, Part 25. Spencer, Oklahoma, and the Legend of the Purple Church. It's the site of a former church that was torn down, and all that's left of it is the foundation and the basement. And it got its name from the purple pentagrams that people have spray painted on it. According to the legend, it's been used for satanic rituals, which has led people to believe that those rituals have summoned some unfriendly spirits. People have reported seeing strange figures in the forest around, hearing terrifying moaning noises, and even being scratched and shoved. And the legend says that those who are brave enough to go down into the church's basement have felt a dark, evil, ominous presence so heavy that they had to get out of there as quickly as possible. It's also said that the smell of death lingers in the area. This is actually said to be one of the most haunted places in the whole state.
These are the 6 fairy tale creatures you will find in every corner of the world. Now each culture might have a little variation on it, but for the most part, these are all the same. Skinwalkers exist everywhere, and in every single case, they're very smart and very magical. Now sometimes they might have different names, like African Americans for instance call them hags, but they're definitely skinwalkers. Number 2 is gnomes, or imps, or goblins. Every single culture has one. For instance, this is Sachi Redcap from Brazil. Up next are ogres. They exist in every single culture. They always have different names, but they always exist. Number 5 is vampires. I made a video about this yesterday, so go watch that. Number 5 is dragons. I also made a video about this, so go check that one out too. And finally, number 6, we get to the scariest of all creatures found in fairy tale myths. Witches. They're not always good, they're not always evil, but they always exist. Honestly, it's kind of terrifying to think about that these cultures who've never met each other have the exact same monster. We all have the same fears. Or we all have the same monsters. Huh.
The story about how Laughing Jack came to this creepypasta gives me chills. There was a 5-year-old boy named James who was playing out in his yard one day when his mom went to check on him. She heard him talking to someone else, and when she asked who he was talking to, he said it was Laughing Jack. The mom thought that this was just a normal imaginary friend, so she said, "Oh, what does Laughing Jack look like?" when James replied, "He's a clown." Later that night, after the mom put James to bed, she had an awful nightmare about being stuck in an abandoned circus, and she heard Pop Goes the Weasel playing from a tent. When she woke up the next morning, she saw James's action figures staring back at her from her bedside table. That morning, she asked James if he put the action figures there, and he said no, that Laughing Jack did it. Later that day, James's mom heard him talking to someone out in the yard again. This time, he was eating candy, and when she asked where he got the candy from, he said Laughing Jack gave it to him. The mom started getting suspicious, but she had no idea the horror that she was about to encounter regarding Laughing Jack. Follow for part 2. Laughing Jack Part 2. Later that night, the mom awoke to noises in the house. She heard screaming coming from her son's room, and when she went to check on James, she saw him pinned to the wall. And then she heard the sound of maniacal laughing coming from behind her. She turned around to see Laughing Jack standing in the doorway. I'm gonna show Laughing Jack, so please look away if you don't want to see him. She saw this in the doorway. Okay, it's safe to look now. Laughing Jack ran over to her son James like he was gonna hurt him. In an attempt to save her son, she took the knife that she was holding and plunged it right at Laughing Jack. Right as the knife was about to hit him, he evaporated into a cloud of dark smoke, the knife then plunging straight into James. Shortly after this, the police showed up at the house and they concluded that the mom killed her son. She was taken away to a psych ward where she's still tormented by Laughing Jack to this day. Please keep in mind that this is just a creepypasta, it is not a true story.
Urban Legends from Every State, Part 39. Kansas. And the legend of the Child's Play Cemetery. Now, the cemetery itself is located in Leroy, Kansas. And the legend says, of course, that it's haunted. But the strangest part is that it's said to be haunted by mostly children. Though there are said to be adult spirits there too, that's just where the legend got its name from. Now, the legend says that anyone who goes there has to stay in their car. That allegedly at some point in the night they'll hear a loud thump from somewhere on it. And then it gets pretty serious in saying that after you hear the thump, you have to stay in your car and get out of there as quickly as possible. Then once you're a safe distance away from the cemetery, the legend then says when you get out of your car, you'll see tons of tiny child handprints on the sides. Back at the cemetery, people have also reported hearing disembodied children's laughter. I don't know why, but to me it always seems like child ghosts are like 10 times freakier.
Here's another one of the most interesting and terrifying internet creatures ever created. Today we will be discussing the horrific Train Eater. The Train Eater was created by internet artist Leo Vincible, and in its natural state is a fleshy creature with long sharp teeth, numerous eyes, and millipede-like feet. It also appears to have a humanoid creature attached to the inside of its mouth. The Train Eater has a unique shape-shifting ability which allows it to disguise its body as a subway train. It will darken its skin to resemble metal, and it can even make its eyes look like tinted windows or mirrors. The Train Eater will travel from station to station, collecting travelers in its body until it is full. It will then crawl off track and begin to digest the passengers, after which it will repeat the cycle.